I want to talk about something that's in the news, prolific, is the death penalty. What a facade it is. And we're going to talk about some behind the scenes, actual live stuff that I know about the death penalty, some cases up close and personal here in the state of Tennessee, some facts you might not know about, and maybe that people in government power don't want me to say, but I'm going to say it loud and clear because it costs people their lives, the facade of the death penalty, and you need to protect yourself. So welcome. Here's the American flag. Come on in. Thank you all for joining me. Interesting show. Got a lot of facts and notes that people in government power wished I'd go away, but we're not going anywhere. In fact, we went somewhere yesterday, as you've seen, the great American flag, to dispel some lies by court documents. Walked down to the federal courthouse just yesterday as I get my camera adjusted here. Thank y'all. Come on in. And filed federal court documents to fly rights. Come on in. Charles Van Morgan Show. Welcome to the broadcast. If we can get it aligned up here, welcome. Thank you all for joining. So we're going to talk about the death penalty, and you got to protect yourself, because the death penalty is a facade. It really doesn't exist. And we're going to talk about some things behind the scenes that people don't know about, that I know about from living through it, because I was actually working for a police department in the jurisdiction of a brutal murder that's going on right now, coming up full circle. The one of the people that committed the brutal murder, and it was brutal, is on death row up for execution in August. We're going to talk about that, some things behind the scenes that nobody knows about, and we're going to discuss the death penalty, some facts about it. You know, it takes them 30 years to put someone to death if they can. The competence here lately with Mr. Carruthers shows that the state's unable to do its job. The incompetence of people in state government is alarming. Got to set off warning bells. They can't do their job. They can't protect you. They can't put someone to death after 30 years of court hearings and planning and authorization and test and lies, criminal offenses, perjury under oath about stuff. And then they have the world's attention. They couldn't put Carruthers to death. I hate to call him Mr. because I don't think he deserves that respect. In my personal opinion, I wasn't there. I don't know for sure, but that's one of the issues I have with the death penalty, is that the people dishing it out in our Tennessee courts today, a lot of them are dirty liars and they mislead juries. So we don't know whether people are guilty or not in some cases, and we're giving them irreversible punishment, and it's us giving the punishment. We are the state, so we're supposed to be the state. When the state executes somebody, they're doing it in our name, the people, the mass populace of the state of Tennessee, and it's been taken out of our hands by rogue government, by corporations, and by parties that have their own proxy of people that know people that are going to vote and have them paid off, and then they get in power and they're not concerned about the death penalty, because the people that these people are murdering are not their family members. They're not their friends, and they're not their proxy. And that's a hard thing to do, to put someone to death. And they don't have a stake in it. They should have. They swore to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law and to protect Tennesseans. But that's not what they really got in power for. They got in power to run things for themselves. And when it comes to the death penalty, they don't want to do that because they don't have an iron in that fire where they should have. It takes them 30 years to execute somebody, and then they try to do it, and they can't even get it done. Happened live on television just last week with Carruthers, and we're going to talk about some other cases and some how the state perpetrates a lot of this stuff. You know, in Tennessee, my best advice for you is to legally go armed if you're capable and protect yourself. Because the government, people that we've entrusted to do that in the state of Tennessee, quite frankly, are not going to do that. You can get murdered brutally and they're going to get 3 hots in a cot. And I know that's not the life anybody wants to live, but they're not going to get the justice that they deserve. And the big and is some of them will get to live a free life because they're out on parole. They get paroled after a brutal murder or assisting in one. So somebody you look in the eye, as happened here in Knoxville, that's brutally murdering you before you die, and you don't get to live your life. You don't get to have children, have a family, as in the ladies that was killed here in Knoxville, 2 of them have a family, have a husband. Brutal, horrific, torturous murders. The people you're looking in the eye doing that, a few years with 3 hots in a cot, protected by the state, and literally the state is protecting them against retribution, against people who would come in and kill them for killing their family members, which is vigilantism. I don't condone that, but that would take place. A lot of people, you kill their family, they're going to kill you. Now that's not just, but what's also not just is the state of Tennessee protecting these people after they've committed a crime until they can get parole, and then they're free to go. So the state's prison system is a protection system for the guilty that should be executed. And that's what it does, because people in the state government don't have an iron in the fire. They could care less about you. I know what they say. They say that they want to serve. And they can get up and say that all day long. They say it, and every news channel in the state's got a microphone in their face shaking their head. Yeah, you do. Let's vote for him. In a roundabout way, they pick who you vote for that doesn't give a rat's ass about you, that houses these brutal murders, protects them from vigilantism from you, and doesn't administer justice because they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. They don't want to do it. It's hard to do, and they're not going to do anything that's hard to do for themselves. You're supposed to serve them. You're supposed to stomach what they did to your family, and while they're protecting them in a prison, potentially of escaping, getting to another country, or by their own flimsy rules, getting paroled. And that's what the state is, protecting murderers, feeding them, and making sure you don't get to them, hurt them. Of course, where were they when you were out there, your family members out there, for them to protect you? They were too busy protecting the elite class, these people in these rich areas, and all hell breaks loose when they don't get protected. Oh, it is horrible. And then they'd get the death penalty done one way or the other, legal or not, because that's how they roll. Much worse than what you think. So we have a prison system all across the state of Tennessee, all across the United States of America, that's housing, protecting heinous dirty, violent, thug murders and their entourage against vigilantism. They're protecting them better than they protected your relative, because your relative got a punishment of death unlawfully, unjustifiably by them. But they get your tax money to protect these creeps, these sick people that have forfeited their life, if you ask me, forfeited their right to live on the planet. And I mean, you think about it. Somebody brutally murders a member of your family, a horrifying death. How could a human being do some of the stuff that these sick people are doing that takes them a while to get it done, and they're thinking about it, and know and enjoy the torment and the horrificness of the person that they're doing it to? You can tell by the evidence after the fact. You didn't have to be there. They're sick. They enjoy damaging people and taking away their lives from them. And this person that's in that situation that gets their life taken away, and you or me could be in that situation. I'm just telling you, this is real life facts, and you need to understand, and you need to listen, because you need to protect yourself, because the state's not going to protect you. They will house these people and protect them from your relatives who might want to try to kill them, and sometimes they might get it done anyway. I don't know. You hear died of natural causes in prison, or they die of old age. I wonder how many of those deaths are really natural causes. Somebody's family member didn't say, I'm tired of this stuff. They're not killing my family, getting by with it. And they commit vigilantism and murder them in prison. Now, I'm not, because the state's not good at protecting people. And I'm not promoting vigilantism by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just telling you what really happens in real time. This is unbridled, truthful news. It isn't a dressed up, beautiful show about how wonderful the world is and how beautiful everything is, because it's not. Let's get across the road here. Because it's not a pretty, beautiful world. It's a fallen, dangerous world. And I'm not telling you to be afraid. I'm telling you to take precautions and live a happy life, protecting yourself. Now, have people around you be cautious of your environment. Don't listen to everything everybody tells you. And a lot of people go armed. That'd be a good thing, because the police department's not going to be there a lot of times for you when somebody looks you in the eye and is brutally murdering you with you begging for your death, begging for your life while they're trying to put you to death. And they're not like the state. They'll get it done. They will get it done as long as it takes. And even, quite frankly, according to facts, if they don't get it done, they will bury you alive where you will die suffocating in the dirt. But the state will poke you a few times and give the hell up and reverse what they've already done. That's how sick these people are. It is alarming. I'm setting off the alarm bell. Setting off the alarm bell. Your government in the state of Tennessee is unfunctioning for us. It is literally not only not functioning to protect us, it's working the opposite direction as far as putting us at risk and protecting the evil element. They live in prison as custodians. And I know people from Inside Information, people that have brutally murdered somebody, and some of the sickest things you could ever imagine. And some people can't even imagine that. How a human being does that without demonic influence, I don't think it's possible. But that's on them. They did it. They chose to worship the devil and got the consequences of that life. And then the devil protects them by intervening and giving them the life that they can get. But the courts and the justice system, literally, in this state and all across the United States, protects those people from vigilantism, feeds them, clothes them, and some of them are custodians in prisons and run the damn jails. I mean, I've heard it from corrections officers that worked around some of these brutal murders that even when they were in prison, tried to kill people while they're in prison. They did it in the free world. And then when they're in the free world that's in prison, that's really a free world for a lot of them, They ran the prison, got special privileges, and tried to kill somebody in the prison. And now they're up for execution in August. But will it get done? I don't know. I hope and pray that justice is served by a competent governor, and we don't have one right now that's competent. As far as protecting you, he's competent in protecting himself, his family, his church. He'll protect his little church. I mean, he did a commercial for the whole world to see in his church, and he'll protect that, but he won't protect your church and churches all over the state of Tennessee. And that's the truth. If you don't like to hear the truth, then bury your head in the sand. And when one of these brutal murderers are killing you, or you hear by phone call or a knock on your door that they've killed one of your family members, think of what I told you. Look at the governor over the crooked Tennessee Highway Patrol and your local police and sheriff's departments, and they're out spending money that they shouldn't be spending, allegedly, and they're out fixing old model cars on your dime, and they're not protecting you. They're not protecting you at all. They're not going to. In the Democrat and Republican two-tiered system of politics that we got right now, and that's the reason why I'm independent. Neither one of them are doing the job, although I have Republican views for the most part, not all of them. So your government, to be very clear, is protecting criminals, brutal, violent, nasty, dirty, the sickest people on the planet that have forfeited their right to live, to breathe, that should be executed immediately, if not sooner, by the state after due process. But not due process for 30 years. That's not due process. That's a stall. That's a fraud. That's a crock. That's a fallacy. That's a facade. It don't take them that long to put somebody to death. It takes them that long to forget about stuff and let somebody go or die of natural causes in jail, while your friend or family member, or maybe you, was killed by one of these people. Now picture the scene. You're out living your life and you went somewhere alone, or somebody lured you, and maybe you were young and you didn't know. We don't know a lot of things when we're young. I'm telling you to pay attention to what's going on around you, not paranoia, but just be cautious and conscientious that there are people out there who will murder you and enjoy it. And then your state that's supposed to be there to protect you will protect them. That's a fact. That's the way it doesn't work for you, but works for them. And that's just the truth. And hopefully this will scare you into reality. I was in law enforcement for 18 years. I did my job. Look how they did me. They don't care about protection of the mass population of Tennesseans. They care about themselves and protection of themselves and their reputation so that they can be in power. And their reputations are similar to these crooked people, these nasty, sick, pathetic murderers, some of them, because they allow it to go on by their rogue laws and their rogue administrations, and put you in danger. So I would strongly encourage everyone to protect yourself. So you're out somewhere and you get lured over to the University of Tennessee. You're just a kid and just a young person, and you don't know that the world is full of danger. Maybe you didn't have a father or mother that told you that, or maybe they did and you just didn't listen because of your youth, and you're lured over to a private area of the UT campus, and three people commenced hitting you, brutally stabbing you, and you're begging for your life. And where's the police? Where's the justice? And you try to run and you beg for your life, and they beat you so bad, brutally stab you, cut your throat, and you're dying. It takes a while to die sometimes. It's not just automatic. And you're suffering. And these people that are doing this to you, and you don't even know why, you don't even understand it. And they do that, and there's blood all over the road. There's a pool of blood across the road in an area off the beaten path. And these people, after you're dead, they cut a pentagram in your skull and they take it back to the Job Corps Center and use it as memorabilia, as a trophy. They're proud of what they did. Your whole life ahead of you. You're just 19 years old, your whole life ahead of you. And your mother sent you to the Job Corps to get training. You come from a poor background. The Job Corps Center, it is a place where people with low income can learn job skills, and you're supposed to be safe. They have security there, and you're supposed to be safe for people that actually do their job. And you sign out with about 3 people, lure you to go to the UT campus. Your mother has sent you there and is concerned about you, and you get brutally murdered by these people. And they walk free, and behind the scenes, which it doesn't make any difference in the outcome, but behind the scenes, a UT police officer, and I work for the University of Tennessee Police Department. A lot of people don't know this, but this behind the scenes thing, and it's evil right in front of our eyes, and sometimes we don't even see it, not out of negligence, just out of things don't appear the way they really are sometimes. And if it would have made a difference, that's one thing. If it don't make a difference, that's another. But he literally, a UT police officer, was on patrol after the murder, blood across the road, the lady's body buried, not buried, but just left in the woods, beaten so bad, unidentifiable as even a body. Well, that's how bad they've tortured and beat this young girl, these 3 murders on the University of Tennessee campus from Job Corps. And a UT police officer was on patrol, drove through the crime scene, saw what he thought at the time was transmission fluid across the road, which would make sense. Now, I myself personally think that I would have checked to make sure what was going on, but it was the Colleen Slimmer's blood across the road, and her body was all crumpled up, beaten and mutilated beyond recognition as a human initially. And so I was off that night, but a UT police officer literally drove through there was UT police car tracks through the murder scene. Now, it wouldn't have made any difference. She was long past dead, beyond any kind of medical treatment because of what these sick people did to her. And her mother gets a telephone call, or maybe a knock on the door. I'm not sure how it happened in this instant. And her daughter's away at the Job Corps Center, and her mother finds out that her daughter was murdered. And I'm not sure, and probably they wouldn't tell her the brutal details, but heart-wrenching. And I think about my family, hug them a little closer, because these wicked people that do this stuff and our incompetent government, that the least they can do after the fact, before they can have better policing, better protection, after the fact is administer justice. And these people have forfeited their right to live on the planet. And it should be done in a timely, legal, competent, ethical manner by trained professionals that administer justice, and by a competent court system that doesn't allow perjury, and get it done. And they can't get it done. Carruthers the other day, botched execution, spent over an hour trying to kill him and couldn't get it done. And if you look at the reverse, if that had been Carruthers trying to kill the executioners, got the upper hand on them, he killed 3 people. He got it done. It wasn't a situation for him. He planned the whole thing, even planned where to bury him at. Knew a funeral was going on the next day, and buried him under the ground where they were going to put the casket. well-planned, well thought out, very competent individual, and claims he's not mentally competent. If he did that, he is. And we don't know because the court system is so incompetent. And we can see the results by the death penalty, 30 years, and then they can't even get it done. And he's more competent if he did this thing, or the person that did it's more competent than the state. Number one, they can't find out who did it. The second thing is, if Mr. Carruthers did do it, then he's been very successful about extending his life in a jail cell, 3 hots in a cot, enjoying food, enjoying television, enjoying books, enjoying his life, enjoying visitors. You get offers to get married if you're a murderer in jail. I mean, you know, it's a happy time. And you can even get on as a custodian. I know for a fact it's happened, a murder, a brutal one. And that's fine, and then run the damn jail. Now, they don't tell you that behind the scenes, but that's what's happened. And your family that later finds out, I'm sure they don't tell them initially, it's too much for a human being to be able to mentally conceptualize. They can't handle it. It would cause them to have a nervous breakdown, and it would put them in a mental care. And it might anyway, without telling the brutal details, but it's just, she knows the brutal details. And I have been trained in giving people death notices. And you know, things like you don't tell them when honest, you know, they never knew what hit them. And that's number one. They tell you, don't tell them that, of course. And in some cases, you can't even tell them, don't. They didn't know what hit them, because they do know. Because the brutality of the murder shows that it took them a while to get it done. And they got it done. Carruthers, if he is in fact guilty, and I don't know, I don't trust the state to administer justice. And I don't trust them to protect me. I don't trust them to administer justice if someone tried to kill me, and that's one of my main points. Don't let people do it. Don't let them take your life. Protect your life. It's our responsibility, created in God's image, to preserve the life that God gave us. Suicide is a horrible sin against yourself. It's a self-homicide. It's wrong. It's wrong. We're in God's image. We have the greatness of God in our soul and spirit. Now, we're in a fallen state, but we have the duty and obligation to protect ourselves as far as possible, and to try to take care of ourselves, to try to be healthy, to protect ourselves from someone trying to kill us. And people do. They fight for their lives. They put up a fight. And the time to protect yourself is not at the time that somebody's trying to brutally murder you. And I'm just telling you from a law enforcement perspective, trained in self-defense, knowledge and tactics, the time to protect yourself, even as a law enforcement officer, is not when you're calling Slimmer. And I'm not saying she did anything wrong, but something that will help you protect yourself. The time to protect yourself is not at the time when you're in a bad situation and you're outnumbered and they have weapons and you don't. The time to protect yourself, and she didn't know, obviously, which is not bad on her. She's brutally murdered. It's wrong. This stuff shouldn't happen. But what I'm trying to tell you is it does more frequently than what people know. A lot of homicides ain't even classified as homicides. They're accidental deaths, and keeps the homicide rate down, keeps law enforcement agencies, we're doing our jobs. There's not many murders, but they have 10 accidents. But those weren't murders, those were accidents. It's not a police issue. So it's safe in this area, and they keep having accidents. Yeah, right. Some of it's so horrific they can't cover it up, but there are police cover-ups. A lot of accidents that are brutal murders. It happens, and they accident. We're good, safe in this area. And a lot of it in university areas where they want a lot of students. So that's all accidents. A lot of times, sometimes it is. So don't just go by the statistics, go by this. Go by this, what I'm telling you. And what I learned in law enforcement from a life of that. And if you don't think I'm very good at it, I survived an 18-year career and even survived the state trying to have me assassinated and killed. So I'm pretty good at self-protection. And one thing that protects me, that can protect you all, is what I said earlier, is be determined to protect yourself. And the time to protect yourself is not when the brutal murder is going down, when you got yourself out on a limb in a vulnerable situation. It's too damn late then. Mr. Carruthers is not the state. He'll get it done if you give him half a chance. It's gonna get done, and if he don't get it done, he'll bury you alive. He's not the state. He won't reverse. He's going to try to kill you and everybody around and with you. And if he didn't get it done, he'll bury you alive. And eventually it's gonna happen anyway. They have no rules. They have no conscience. They're sick, pathetic pieces of trash that don't deserve to live. And your government should execute them in a timely manner after a fair trial, which they do neither. They do neither. So you have to protect yourself. The time to protect yourself is ahead of time, to not get in the situations that could cause you to get killed or brutally murdered, to realize that it happens a lot more than what people think. And I'm not trying to scare you. You can't live your life afraid. I'm telling you to live your life happy and cautious about being murdered. And as a police officer, I face that every day because I confronted evil. And officers know what I'm talking about. For the most part, some of them don't. They get killed. I confronted evil because I had good law enforcement training. And we're going to talk to you the difference about that. Some law enforcement training here recently in the past few years, it's not very good training. So protect yourself ahead of time. Don't expect the state's going to protect you. Sure, call the police when you're threatened and it's potential. Sure, use the courts, but you have to think outside that box, because that box isn't working and it could be fatal. You have to think to protect yourself. It's your God-given responsibility to protect your life, protect yourself, protect your loved ones before it happens. If somebody was going to do that to my family member and I was out on the ag campus in 1990 with knives and rocks in intent to kill, I'd blow them off the planet. Justifiable homicide. I would defend my life or someone else's life. So the time is ahead of time, planned before the event happens. Don't put yourself in a situation. Try not to. Be observant. Be careful who you go out with. Be careful who you let in your house. Watch out what's going on around you. If you find yourself in a bad situation, get the hell out. You can get killed on this planet, and the government's not going to protect you, and you're probably not going to see justice. The person that did it is probably going to be out on patrol living while you're dead, and your family's going to suffer. Your family's going to suffer. Some people don't have the damn sense to stay out of the road. I mean, you know, that's a lesson I taught my kids years and years ago. Let's get across the road here. So, protect yourself. I usually go armed. Many of you know, they sure printed it in the paper. Good. When I was falsely arrested, of course, the charges were dismissed. No video of what they said I did. But they said I had a gun on me. Yeah, hell yeah. I sure did. I'm glad they put that all over the world in all the papers. I had a gun. Yeah, I do. I'm cocked and loaded. You know, you want to mess with me, you might kill me. I'm not invincible, but you'll get shot at trying to kill me. It'll be a contest. I'll make it difficult for you to do that. very difficult, and you probably won't get it done, and it'll probably be a justified homicide. You're the one that's going to pay the cost of the consequences. I won't wait on the state 30 years later. I can get it done quick, fast, and in a hurry. If you try to kill me, I'm talking about self-defense, or seriously try to injure me, and the threat is real and evident, plain in sight. And I'm not talking about picking a fight and like that rogue man in Nashville did, that for YouTube views tries to pick fights and calls people names, and then he carries a gun on them and entices them. That's not what I would hate to do that, to take a life. Even if I had to, that wouldn't be the right thing. I've had my boots on the ground. I know I've experienced real life and death situations, seen it going down, and I don't like it. It's not something that you want. It's better than the alternative for you to get killed. So protect yourself, number one. Protect your family members. And if you want to, keep a damn gun with you. The time the government guns come, it might be too late. And so that's a big deterrent, being able to protect yourself, protect your family. Watch out who you're going out with. So when I was in the law enforcement training academy back in the 90s, and this is a lesson for everyone, this is real life. It's not a playground in the world. There's places that are highly dangerous. Anywhere can be highly dangerous. Watch what's going on. So they trained us in the 90s, and things have slipped out into the liberal control where everybody's love and peace and nobody is bad, and that's just not true. And you can feel at home and safe and peaceful with everybody. That's not right. That's not true. You live that way and you're going to be a victim, maybe. And I'm not talking about paranoia. I'm talking about awareness of reality. And it's not that hard. You can deal with it. Deal with it better than end up a victim and your family suffering. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Got a bunch of people. Like, share, and comment. So we're talking about the death penalty. The death penalty in Tennessee. We're going to go over some facts. So in the 90s, when I was in law enforcement, at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, now we had some real law enforcement training back in the day, and a lot of older officers know exactly what I'm talking about. I heard it just a few days ago. The same thing that I'm saying from a retired police officer. And I didn't ask him anything about it. He told you the same thing that I think that I'm going to tell you. The training in law enforcement is gone to hell. They teach you all these, you can't do this, you can't do that. These people are trying to kill you. They don't have that rule. They don't have any rules. Their rule is to get you dead for an objective. They don't want you as a witness, or they hate you, or whatever. Corrupt, sick, pathetic thinking that they have that's a lot of times demonic. They don't have any rules. They'll do it however they get it done. Bury you alive, sick and pathetic. But you got all these damn rules you got to follow. You got to follow policy and procedures. And you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to call it in. You got to, while they're trying to kill you, they got an advantage. You're worried about the rule of law and the proper steps and procedures to get it right so it looks good in front of the news media and the whole world so you don't get prosecuted, while they're worried about getting you dead. And they're sick and pathetic. They know if they kill you and get convicted justifiably, they're never going to admit it. They'll be a custodian in a prison. Everybody will be afraid of them. They'll run the damn jail. This is what happens. And they may never get executed. And they don't have to protect themselves from you. The state will do it for them. You can't get in there and kill them. The state won't let you. Governor Bill Lee won't let you. It's against his religion. Vigilantism. If he don't want vigilantism, then he better start administering damn justice, because he's putting people at risk in the state of Tennessee. But they taught us in the 1990s, real law enforcement training academy. And just like I heard from a police officer the other day, and I'm gonna tell you some important facts about real law enforcement training. Training that can help you stay 6 foot above ground. And it did. So listen up, but he said they don't train officers the same way they did when we went through the academy. They can't even yell at them, or they have to be nice to the recruits, and they don't know what they're doing. And they don't get it. And this is an officer, and I'm not going to give away who he is, but an officer that understands, that's been through the fire, came out on the other end, that could be dead. But he got some good training back in the 90s. I don't know where he went to the academy. I went to the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. And later on, I went to several other crummy academies that they claim are great. They claim that their system of justice in Tennessee is great, that their execution system works fine, that the government is working wonderful, and we got a Christian government. They tell you all that. I mean, if you want to believe that, I don't know how you can put facts and apply that to what they're trying to tell you. It's not true. Your life's in danger. They protect murderers. That's exactly what they do. And you have to take precautions to protect your own lives. They're not going to do it for you. They're going to protect the murderer. That's what they do in Tennessee. Their prisons are havens for murderers, protecting them from the outside world, that a lot of them would get killed if they did what they did and were out in the open. They'd get murdered fast. Faster than what some of them did it. People suffered. But in the academy in the 90s, first day I walked in the door in the morning, sat down, and they introduced us. Welcome to the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. And officers from departments all over the state getting training as mandated by the state. And this training's mandated. It still is today. It's just not good training today, I don't think. And it shows up. It shows up in how some officers have been killed because they weren't trained right. No, that's not popular to say, but it's the damn truth. And we watched about 3 days. This was initial. Right after the introduction in the morning, all day long that day, all day long the next day, and all day long the third day. We watched pretty much without interruption except for lunch breaks. And when we left about 5:30, from 8 to 5:30 all day long, we watched reality taking place. Without explanation, brutal reality. We watched for 3 days of police officers getting murdered on the job. Reenactments, some of them clips of video from officers getting murdered on the job, getting killed. Watched some of their funerals and their family members, how sad it was. For 3 days we watched officer after officer after officer getting shot, getting killed, dead. And you're there to be a police officer to do what they're doing, and it's hitting you right in the face. Hey, I could get killed doing this job. This isn't a game. There's his name. That's where he's buried. That's his wife. And I'm signing up to do this? And it wasn't just one, it was 3 days. A lot of officers, probably hundreds, in the 3 days we watched, one right after another, without explanation. They're just showing you, hey, this is real. This is what happens. Welcome to law enforcement. Hello, you're not here handing out roses. Every day you're enforcing the law against some dangerous people. They will kill you. See, look, they're doing it every day, all day. This is serious business. It's not a joke, not a game. There's the back door if you want to leave. And you go through an internal thinking process. Do I want to do this? And I was for sure I was going to do that to protect society, not for any rogue, vain reason. It's a calling. And I love police officers. I wish they were trained better nowadays. And then later, their academies are getting officers killed. because they're not teaching reality. They don't show you all that stuff, because I went to the academy in 2002 with the Tennessee Highway Patrol Commercial Enforcement Training Academy. And we didn't have all this, officers get killed and this is dangerous. We had the whole 4 months of standing at attention, respecting the brass, respecting the hierarchy. Nobody told you you could get killed respecting the hierarchy. The whole lesson, they didn't teach you how to do your job at all. I went to 2 of the academies, was out there 8 months. The whole academy is about respecting the hierarchy in the state government. If you get killed doing it, they don't care about that. They just get another recruit in there and teach him to respect the hierarchy. They taught you how to say, sir, yes, sir. They didn't teach you about going out on the road. And we'll talk to you about Calvin Jinks, and you might get dead protecting the hierarchy. And they didn't tell you the reality of the job. They don't do that anymore because they don't care about that anymore. Because law enforcement has changed. They get right to the point, you're here for us. If you die, you figure all that out yourself. You should have known that you get killed, because we're not going to tell you, because what we care about is you protecting the governor, protecting his administration, protecting the brass. And you find out what happens if you try to enforce the law against them. You get gone real fast. That's objective law enforcement nowadays. As you look at the beautiful view here in Knoxville. So yeah, we got a lot of views. Thank y'all. So, law enforcement, and even another officer told me the same thing. They don't even yell at cuss cadets, or the training's not the same. And it's scary, both for the officer and the public, because they don't know, a lot of times, what the hell they're getting into now. Administrators in police departments, at academies. Now, I'm not just trying to talk down to you. Listen to what I'm saying, consider it. It might help you keep officers alive. Stop the bullshit. Stop telling them to worship the brass, worship the sheriff, who may be stealing stuff and out fixing a car while you're out risking your life to protect him. Tell them the real business, because keep them safe. Where's your heart at? The officer that puts his boots on the ground fighting should be fighting to protect himself first. He can't help anybody else. If he's not alive, he should be shown the reality of what he's getting into. And he ought to be trained to protect the public equally, not just the hierarchy brass. And they're not doing that. So when I went to the 2001 Academy under the Highway Patrol, sick, pathetic institution. I mean, they're out putting thousands of people in jail that haven't committed no damn crime that we know of. Thousands and thousands more, because they're doing what the hierarchy says. Sir, yes, sir, but that person's not guilty. Put them in jail. Sir, yes, sir. That's what they teach you. They don't teach you to protect yourself. Fortunately enough, I knew that, because I had real law enforcement training in the 90s and knew how to protect myself. I've even had some officers tell me that they were in a life and death situation where they were subject to being killed, and instead of defending themselves, it went through their mind, I don't want to get sued. That's way down on the list. Excuse me. You need to think about that ahead of time, but you don't need to worry about getting sued while somebody's trying to kill you. Do what you got to do. They ain't got no rules. You need to have some damn survival skills. Worry about that other stuff at a calm later point in time. You know, the first goal I was taught in the hierarchy of importance in law enforcement, and your first goal on the planet is stay alive. Stay alive. I know that sounds selfish, but it's not. It's out of love for your family, your friends and people that care about you stay alive. Imagine after you're gone, somebody has to tell them that you did something, went somewhere, and they're not going to say it frankly to you, but you know, that put them in a situation where they were vulnerable. Now, they shouldn't have got killed. I'm not blaming the victim, but there's things you can do to not be a victim too, and you need to think about that ahead of time. The first goal of law enforcement is to stay alive. That's the hierarchy. Stay alive. Don't let somebody take your life from you. Civilization, the mass population of Tennessee, stay alive. The government's not going to be there to help you. They're not. They've shown how ineffective they are, and they're going to protect the person that kills you. Imagine when the person's trying to kill you, brutally fighting you. Just think about this. It might help you stay alive. That person, if they get it done, is not going to face real justice. They're going to be able to do their sick, pathetic thing and not anger you, and they're going to get by with it. Maybe out on patrol in a few years, have a family, a life, and a wife, and or a husband, and children, the things they're trying to take away from you that you're not going to get because they did that sick thing to you. And they're going to get it later. The state's not going to do anything about it. They're not capable, and they don't care. They don't give a damn. They care about themselves. That's what we got in state power. I know it for a fact, being in state power. They don't even care about police officers. They don't teach them right. So that's the first, staying alive and protecting yourself. And then the second is keeping your job as a law enforcement officer. I mean, that's, and staying out of jail is the second, and keeping your job is the third. So in order of importance. So you stay alive, that trumps everything. If you stay alive, and maybe you go to jail wrongfully for defending your life as a police officer or as a civilian, that's better than getting killed. So that's the first goal. The second goal, and you want to stay out of jail, that's not what you need to be thinking about when somebody's trying to take your life from you. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about killing you. Your prime objective needs to be staying the hell alive. The second is staying out of jail. That's a consideration, but not at the top of the list. If you stay alive and go to jail, you've accomplished the first thing. It's a good thing. Not totally good, but you can fight the jail system and maybe win. And the second objective is stay out of jail. The third is keep your job. That's way down on the list. And a good police officer knows that. You can threaten a good police officer. Well, I'll get your job. I had somebody tell me that, and trying to scare me, like he was going to make a complaint on me when I was protecting other people from him. He said, I'll get your job. I said, that's good. I don't like this job anyway. That's intimidation. You know, try to intimidate me. I know how to intimidate you as you look at the beautiful view. So staying alive. And a lot of these police officers aren't taught how to protect themselves, and it shows up in their death. And you think of Calvin Jinks, who was killed brutally by a suspect. As you look at he was killed brutally by a suspect while he's on the highway patrol. I went to the academy with Trooper Calvin Jinks, and he wasn't trained right. In 2002, went back to the Highway Patrol Training Academy. Trooper Calvin Jinks was in the academy. And we didn't have the 3 days of officers getting killed. We had days of sir, yes, sir. Of sir, yes, sir. And we had days of the Highway Patrol teaching us to respect the brass, the people over us. That's what you're here for, to follow orders to your death almost. And so Calvin Jinks was in that class. He wasn't shown 3 days of officers being brutally murdered. He didn't know that. They might have known it a little bit, but you don't get the full grasp of that till you get it really stuck in your head. If this is a real thing, really take precautions. Do you really want to be here? They taught you really to, yes sir, and stand attention and obey the brass at all costs. That's what you're there for, to protect the hierarchy. That's where we have this big, colossal failure in law enforcement these days. They don't know to protect their life, they know to protect the brass, and they do at their own stupidity. So Calvin Jinks didn't get trained right. It's not popular to say. It's going against the THPP, but they, in effect, killed their own trooper. And boo-hoo-hoo, you know, these people did it. Yeah, you allowed them. You put a trooper out that you allowed to put himself in a position where he got killed because he didn't know how dangerous law enforcement was. I did. They don't care. They didn't train them that. They train them bull malarkey. They don't train them how to protect themselves. They don't care. They want people that will serve them. So Todd, Calvin Jinks, and Todd Larkin too, they didn't train them right. Out on patrol, had his head in somebody's car, and got shot and killed in the head. Some hunters found him a few hours later, his body, off the side of the road, dead. He was about 24 years old. Had been on the highway patrol about 3 years. I went to the academy with him. I met Calvin Jinks, a really nice young man. Unfortunate, horrific. The same state that can't execute somebody, don't know how to get that right, can not train their troopers, put them out where they don't understand the gravity of what they're getting into, and allow them to be killed. Trooper Calvin Jinks wasn't prepared, not because of his fault, because of the Tennessee Highway Patrol, the state government at that time. And it's Democrats and Republicans. Stu Bredesen was the governor at that time, and went out on the road, got himself killed. He didn't understand. They didn't train him right. They trained him to obey the brass. They didn't train him how dangerous the job was. And you think of Todd Larkins. Now, he wasn't in my particular class. The same inept training, got hit by a tractor trailer on the side of the interstate. Ran over him while he was outside a car. On the interstate, tractor trailer hit him, took off. They found out who did it. But the lack of proper training gets officers killed. And this is pretty unpopular too, to say, probably endangers me, but I'm just trying to help police officers. Now, bad things happen, and I don't know. There's going to be officers killed. That's a fact because of the nature of the job that they do. But they ought to be fully informed, and they might be. And sometimes they're trained well and they just make a mistake because we don't know everything. But I know the officer that was killed here in Knox County, there was a mistake made. Now, I don't know if it was bad training. I wasn't there. But I can tell you from experience that I know in law enforcement training, you have to give yourself the advantage, the upper hand. And I know police officers are big and bad and tough, but you don't give your life knowing that you could get killed. You can be a police officer tactically and be a tactically safe citizen without relying on the government. And the one way you do it, think ahead of time. And I know that situation in Knox County, a police officer got killed on a domestic call by somebody who was mentally incompetent, they claim, and he got killed himself by a deputy. They got called to a domestic situation. And I don't know if they trained him right at the academy or not, and that stuff wasn't done right, or something on the scene that I don't know about. But I can tell you from hindsight, from Monday morning quarterbacking, and we need to Monday morning quarterback bad incidences to see if there's any value in improving people getting killed. Not to just be Monday morning quarterbacking, but to put out information, and these agencies ought to be doing that. I don't know if they are, to stop it from happening in the future so officers don't get killed. Now that's a positive result of Monday morning quarterbacking. Not to say, oh, they messed up, to say, how can we make this, can we look at it to have information in advance so that won't happen again? Not to run people down, but to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. If that happens, it needs to be corrected. That's not right. Teach them better the next time. And from a perspective later, from the information that I have gotten and seen, I wasn't on the scene, the fact that they were called to a domestic dispute with a man that had formerly been arrested and was dangerous. Now, did they get that information? They should have. So they're going to domestic incident, highly dangerous incidences. An Knox County Sheriff's deputy was killed. And did they train him right? Was the situation different? Well, I don't understand. I don't know. But this is worth evaluating, because this helps the public too. You don't put yourself in a situation where you don't have the upper hand. Time is on your side. Time is on your side. Distance and time keeps people alive. Slow things down. Put distance between you and a threat. Now that's Officer 101, not hard concepts. Somebody wants you to hurry and do something and you don't feel good about the situation, that's a tactic. They try to hurry you to get you in a bad situation to kill you. Take your time, think about it, wait, sort it out, back up, get away from the situation. That's law enforcement 101 training. Time and distance is on your side. It'll keep you alive. If you don't have the upper hand, don't get into the situation. Back off, wait. So he went to a domestic violence situation, and there's a man in the house that's not mentally competent, that has firearms. There's a lawsuit from the wife of the deputy that was killed, suing the lady, and if she wins, and I doubt it legally, but she might, that the lady didn't tell her that there were guns in the house. I wonder if they asked. So she's suing the wife, the man that killed her husband on a domestic dispute. And it's not about suing the wife, it's about, was there property insurance on that property? And that's where the bucket of money is. And quite frankly, I hope she wins. I wish her the best of luck in the world. I don't think the laws are in her favor. Who knows? There's new stuff written, and she should be compensated, and her child. It's a horrific situation. But there were apparent issues with training or conduct of the officers without knowing more, and these are blatantly obvious from a law enforcement officer's perspective, 18 years, right off the top, that don't look good, don't pass the smell test. An officer was killed, and there's some blatantly obvious things that, if they went the way it appears, need to be drastically corrected from a police department, a sheriff's department who was fixing cars instead of training deputies, maybe, I don't know. But he went into the house. The child and the baby were out. They got a call, a domestic dispute. I think it was firing guns. And so they show up at the house, the lady and the child come to the door, and they get them out of the house, and here's where the problem starts. If you have a child and a woman in the house and there's a violence going on, you have to go in, you have to risk your life. I get that. That's where you don't have time, and you need to try to protect that family the best you can without getting yourself killed. So the urgency to get in the house, if they were still in, would be there, and I can understand. But where you have them out of the house and this man in the house, potentially armed, there's no need at all in any training if he got it or if he didn't listen to it, or if there's something else going on, I don't know, but it's blatantly obvious. 2 deputies went in that house for an armed suspect. That's an obvious, no reason to do that. Why would you do that? The man knows the house. He's got a tactical advantage. That's a suicide mission. Now, either you weren't trained or something else I don't know, or you didn't follow your training. And I tend to believe, my personal opinion is, without knowing more, is that he wasn't trained right. You don't do that. You got the child out, you wait behind your patrol car and call out a SWAT team, people that are prepared, that can throw a phone in, negotiate, resolve it peacefully. You don't go in to a situation, a gauntlet, in his favor where you have no idea about the house and he does. That's a situation that you can't win that probably. One of y'all is going to get killed, one of the deputies, and they did. So either they didn't follow their training, didn't realize the gravity of the situation, and they should have, weren't trained officers getting killed for 3 days like me, and they made a mistake, or they weren't trained right, which I tend to think, in light of stuff that's coming up here lately, with officers in the chain of command on the job, fixing cars for themselves, that he didn't get the right kind of training. You don't go in a house that you don't know the layout, where there's not an urgent emergency situation. You back off and call the SWAT team. Hold the status quo. They put themselves at risk for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe there's a good reason. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's the training that they went through. They didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. So that's my message to the mass populace Tennesseans, and I preach it to the choir. I know a lot of you are smarter than some officers. It's a dangerous world, not paranoia, awareness of situations. Now, I believe in the death penalty. The Bible authorizes it, and the death penalty is a good thing. I believe it. Well, almost 200 people. The death penalty is a very good thing, and keeps people alive and well, and make sure I got my audio on. The death penalty is a good thing, and I believe in the death penalty. The state can't get it done. So it's authorized in Genesis 9:6. Whosoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. Romans 13 teaches the same thing. As you look at the beautiful view, wow, we got a lot of people on here. Thank y'all so very much. Like, share, and subscribe if you can. So Romans 13 teaches the same thing. And the government bears the sword as God's servant. Speaking spiritually, the dispensation changed, but the authority did not. We were under the law, and then Jesus Christ died on the cross, and now we're under grace. But the authority didn't change for the death penalty. In my view, God demands the authority to be exercised with integrity, competence, and clean hands. And that's not what's going on. That doesn't happen in Tennessee right now. They don't have clean hands. We don't know if the death penalty is being dished out to people who committed the actual murders. There's too many questions. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Now, I believe the death penalty for brutal murder If somebody tries to brutal murder me, I'm not going to leave it up to the state's hands. I'm going to be well prepared ahead of time and realize that that could happen and be prepared ahead of time. And I'm going to defend myself and give them a very bad day, make it hard for them to do that. And in law enforcement, you can't always stay alive. Bad things happen while they're out in this evil, wicked world. But the objective is to make it difficult for them to do that. To make it difficult for them to kill you. Make it hard to kill, for them to kill you. I wore my vest. I practiced very good at the firing range. Got awards for my hitting the target more than anyone else. I practiced ground fighting, which is most commonly all fights end up on the ground, and practice self-defense tactics in order to keep myself alive. And people make fun of me. That's a good thing. I'm not no great self-defense person. Yeah, keep thinking that. I arrested more people than any trooper in the highway patrol for more than half a decade by myself at night. You don't see a scratch on me. Some people didn't want to go to jail. One of the most dangerous things that police do is taking people's freedom away from them. Causes a lot of death. That's training, knowledge of that. So you know when you're taking somebody's freedom justifiably to protect them, they're so drunk they'll kill themselves, that you're at high risk of them trying to kill you. I knew that, and you don't see any scratches on me. So, you know, if you want to mess with this at your own demise, it won't be fun. I assure you that. You won't beat me without a fight. That's how I roll. So don't bring the fight to me unjustifiably. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize and make it right. If I'm not wrong, it's going to go down. Something went down yesterday. Went in and fired a bullet, legal papers at the federal courthouse. I'm like David. I'll volunteer. I got a rock, I'll throw it, however to get it done. So I believe in the death penalty for brutal murders. The families of victims deserve justice. They're just not getting it. Prisons should not be protection home for killers at taxpayers' expense. That's what they are. They're protecting these prisoners like they didn't protect us. Wow. Don't depend on a police officer to be there. Use whatever resources the government sparsely provides for us. They provide it for them. Be prepared to protect yourself. God-given responsibility. But, and this is the key, I do not trust the people currently in power, Tennessee, to administer it fairly. And I'm a former commissioned law enforcement officer, 18 years. I didn't sit parked behind a business hiding. I was actively participating in violent, dangerous arrest of dangerous people to protect you, putting my life at risk. You know, there's experience. You can have 30 years of experience sitting behind a business, hiding from people, getting calls, and I know I've seen it, and going the long way around so other officers can get there and get killed before you ever arrive on the scene, and so you don't have to do the damn paperwork. Or you can be dedicated under God to your profession and honor the oath and try to be the first one there to protect society, which is exactly what I did. Now I know they say that's not true, but they lie. So I've been where the officers are. I know what it costs. I also know the cover-up when I see one. And there's a cover-up in Knoxville, in the state of Tennessee, maybe in your country, UK, Canada, all across the world, Switzerland. I got people listening to me. Thank you all so very much. Helps get the word out. This morning, I'm going to show you 7 executions carried out with untested drugs, officers who lied under oath about it, a botched execution, a governor who said he reviewed a case, then reversed himself 4 days later when the incompetence became public. That's what they do. And I'm going to tell you something. No true crime show, no podcast, no criminal special has ever told you, because I was there. And Tony Carruthers, convicted of murdering Dolores Anderson, her son Marcus Anderson, and Frederick Tucker in 1994. 3 people, brutal murders, death sentence properly imposed after full legal process by them. If he didn't do it, don't get him convicted, don't execute him. They will anyway. May 21st, 2026, execution day. The doctor assigned to place his IV line had not performed that procedure in 13 years. That's your great state of Tennessee. Court filings allege the doctor had not placed the line in 13 years. Nashville Banner, May 22nd. So they weren't prepared. Did they not go in and make sure that they could get a vein? Did they not look at that ahead of time? Wow, 260 people. They can't even put people to death. Mr. Carruthers got it done. 3 people. Didn't have any problem. A rogue, ruthless killer. He didn't even get it done with the lady and buried her alive, and eventually she suffocated and died. And the whole great state of Tennessee government, not the people, not the mass populace of Tennesseans, the whole great state of Tennessee can't get one murder done after 30 years. If Mr. Carruthers had been trying to kill these people, got the upper hand, he would have got it done. He would have killed 3 of them in a short amount of time, tried to cover it up. A ruthless murder better than the state. And yet the state, for 30 years, and to this very day, is protecting Mr. Carruthers from anybody trying to kill him. Pretty damn good at it. They can't even get it done. The safest place to be in Tennessee on May 21st, 2026, was in the execution chamber with Bill Lee and his government trying to kill you. That was a safe place. I was more in danger that day, and you were more in danger that day than Mr. Carruthers, who Mr. Bill Lee was trying to kill. Wow, think about that. They can't even do an execution. 30 years to plan, decide, and get that done. Couldn't do what Mr. Carruthers did to 3 people in a matter of hours. That's your state government. That ought to scare the hell out of you. That ought to make you think, I need to protect myself. They stuck Tony Carruthers more than a dozen times over 90 minutes trying to find a vein that they should have found ahead of time. Did they not go in a cell? I mean, you guys got to tell him, hold out your arms. We're going to try to find somewhere where we can execute you. Go in a cell, tell him to hold out his arms, and if he didn't, pull them out for him and look and find out what they're going to do ahead of time. And they didn't even do that. They could not establish a backup line as required by the state's own protocol, so they called it off. Mr. Carruthers didn't call off a damn thing, did he? And of course, we got rules. When somebody's trying to kill you, we got rules. Yeah, I got a big rule. It's called stay 6 foot above ground as best I can. That ought to be your rule too. That ought to be top priority on the list when your life's in danger of being killed as an obvious threat or serious bodily injury. Don't get killed. Bill Lee, who for 4 days earlier said he had thoroughly reviewed the case and would not intervene. He looked all over the whole case and wouldn't intervene. And then they botched it. They couldn't get an execution done. Think about that. Safest place in Tennessee was with Bill Lee trying to kill you. That's how inept he is. The Christian and transvestite, they go together, don't they? He tries to hide that. That's conflating. Well, I would think, if you want to talk about conflating, what that means is conflate. If you say that the Governor Bill Lee and his executioners and his prison system is competent, I would say that's conflating just a little bit. Oh, that's conflating a hell of a lot. He granted a 1-year reprieve not because of facts of the case involving the brutal murder, because of their incompetence. So he gave this man another year to live because the state couldn't get it done. If it had been Mr. Carruthers, he'd have buried him alive. And 4 days, reviewed it, and then reversed himself with a botch hit. And the news camera saw it, and the whole world saw the Tennessee government. And this is not leadership, that's a cover-up in real time. Hello, that's a cover-up. In real time. Protect yourself. Bill Lee can't get an execution done. If somebody murders your family, protect them. Because if you put it in the state's hand to administer justice, you see what happens. It don't get done. And they don't care. They don't have an iron in the fire. He didn't kill Bill Lee's family. He don't care. If it had been Bill Lee's family, he'd say, keep trying. Let's get this done. We set a date, get it done. Quite frankly, somebody kills 3 people. If in fact he did it, and we got such an incompetent state, I don't even know if he did it. If they suffer a little bit in the process of putting them down, so be it. A firing squad works really well. And a lot of other more effective means, it's not painful at all. And now they want to do it sanely and painlessly and made it more painful. If you can, contribute to the show. We're putting stuff out about the state government and the city government and the county government all across the state of Tennessee, putting the truth out. Unbridled news. Very dangerous work. I'm not a novice, I understand that, I know that. And I'm still protecting the public against the rogue state. My objective as a law enforcement officer was to protect citizens in law enforcement. I did it well. Saved more, protected more lives than any trooper in the state. Their own numbers got awards after they lied on me. And I haven't changed my objective. It's just a different target, protecting you now from your state government. And it's dangerous. I'm not a novice. I know exactly what I'm doing. Contribute, help me fight the government. Put this message out. Subscribe to the channel and help this message go worldwide. The dirty, crooked state of Tennessee that's not competent enough to administer justice. And it is so sad. Here we have an emergency. And thank God for emergency personnel, our fire department and our ambulance personnel in our hospital emergency rooms and the UT Trauma Center and the other emergency care at all the hospitals in the state of Tennessee. Great people. They're like angels when you need them. If somebody tries to kill you and don't get it done, you'll be at one of these trauma centers. And I assure you that these people are angels when you really need help and are helpless. So God bless these people. There are a lot of good things on the planet, and these emergency professionals that take care of people's lives and police officers that protect people's lives are wonderful people, and when you need them, they're like angels. So the pattern: 7 executions, untested drugs, officials lying under oath. You believe they do that? I've seen them do it. They're not afraid. They'll do it boldly, because if they get caught, there's no penalty, because they're the government and they're inside the system, and the system protects them from any penalty. They do whatever the hell they want to do to protect the system. That's what the system is for, to protect the system. It's not about justice, it's to protect them. So this is not the first time, not even close. An independent review found that none of the drugs prepared for the 7 inmates' execution in Tennessee since 2018 had been fully tested. So they were executing people since 2018 under the watchful eye of the great Governor Bill Lee, very competent man that he claims to be. It's not conflating to say that he's not competent at all by any stretch of the imagination. So since 2018, they've been executing people without even testing the drugs fully that they're killing these people with. Get several men with magazines of guns and high-powered weapons, line the man up a few feet away, or woman, and open fire. It's painless, quick, 100% effective, I guarantee you. If they get up, keep firing. If they suffer, you should have shot more and faster. Just get better at it. That's not hard to do. Instead, they've got this fancy rigmarole system that they got to get all these drugs, and they make it less painful, and it's more painful, and it's horrific, and they're not even doing it right. Multiple outlets, May 26, reported that. So since 2018, they've been killing people without even testing the drugs that they're getting them. A bullet, you know, It's not that big a deal. Instead, they get this fancy drugs. And they ain't even been testing. They ain't even been doing what they're supposed to be doing. Don't even know what the hell they're giving these people. 7 execution under untested drugs. That's what your state of Tennessee. I mean, they couldn't even get it done. And if they had administered the drugs that were supposed to kill them, they didn't even know that they would. Every single one, 7 of them. 2 of the people most responsible for overseeing Tennessee's lethal injection drugs incorrectly testified under oath, they lied under oath, that they were testing the chemicals for bacterial contamination. The state's attorney general's office conceded that in a court filing. So they lied under oath about what they were testing in the drugs. NBC News said that. The Tennessee Attorney General's office, SMUT, the same office that's defending the Board of Law Examiners that I'm personally suing in court because I'm too damn candid. I tell the blatant, honest truth that they don't want me to say because it's against them. They got a problem in this country. It's called a constitutional right. It's called the marketplace of ideals. They don't want this ideal out. It's called the damn truth. They want to cover for their incompetence. And I just filed papers, by the way, yesterday, objecting to their motion to dismiss my complaint. I'm a citizen just like you all, the mass populace of Tennesseans. How dare I go through law school, work hard, sleep in my van, study tests for hours and years. I started trying to get through law school in 2010 when I was trying to get out of the dirty Tennessee Highway Patrol, realizing how crooked it was and how dirty it was, that I could get killed and they wouldn't help. And working night shift by myself alone. And even my supervisor changed to another shift. It was so bad in Knox County. Same supervisor that wrote me a reference to help me get my law license. And high-ranking officials that did. So I was trying to get out of the Highway Patrol, and since 2010, when I started taking the LSAT test, the admission test to try to see if you're smart enough to get into law school, and got a high enough score, since 2010, and then going to law school, graduating, passing the bar, in 2026, haven't been able to get my law license. How dare I, as a citizen like you, the mass populace of Tennessee, ask for what I deserve in the state of Tennessee and not be one of their family members or the people in the upper elite? How dare I ask for what I'm owed? And how dare you ask for justice if one of your family members is going to be killed? You won't get it, not in this state, not in this crooked state. If I were you, I wouldn't come to the state of Tennessee right now. They talk about California. We don't want your California in Tennessee. California, I wouldn't come to this state. You got it better out there with the liberals. At least they tell you we're not going to execute anybody for any reason. They tell you in Tennessee, we're for the death penalty. Are they? They don't get it done. I mean, it's about being told the truth, the blatant truth. We don't believe in the death penalty, or saying you believe in the death penalty, and then not actually carrying it out because you don't give a damn. Which one would you rather have? I'd rather have where they tell me we don't believe in the death penalty. So you know what ground you're on. You got to protect your damn self. In Tennessee, no, we got you. No, they don't. No, they don't. So I filed papers just yesterday objecting to their motion to dismiss, which I've already won one motion. Now, I don't know what this federal judge will say. I know federal judges have lifetime tenure, so they're a little above politics, and you try to go through the measures in the court system the best you can. It's the system that we've got, and do what you can legally and legitimately, and then trust in God. So the people lied under oath. The Tennessee Department of Corrections fired its top attorney and inspector general. They announced a new protocol, and then several months after receiving a lethal dose of pentobarbital during Brian Black's execution, he lifted his head, groaned twice, even saying audibly that it was hurting so bad, Nashville banner. Now, I don't really give a damn if these people suffer on their way to death. But there should not be a procedure that is allowed to continue knowing that they're going to suffer. That shouldn't be the objective. The objective should be to take them off the planet quick, fast, safely, and not make them suffer. That's called justice. We're not like them. They want people to suffer. That's they're murderers. That's why they're on death row. They don't care. Humanely, we want to administer justice, take them off the planet, and they knew they had a system that's called people to suffer, and I'm not saying I'm worried about it, but correct that, and they're still doing the same thing with Carruthers. How did the attorneys find out about the untested drugs? Had an attorney not asked for the testing results, Tennessee Department of Corrections would have proceeded with execution in violation of its own protocol. Federal Public Defender, May 2026. So an attorney that people lambaste so much found out, a defense attorney. Defense attorneys are good. They're good people. They're God-fearing people. You say, how do you people that would defend a murderer? Yeah, they're God-fearing people. They're defending the Constitution. Everybody has a right to the Constitution. Have a fair, legitimate trial with the legitimate drugs that put them out without suffering and execute them. Not a sick, pathetic system that is so warped that they can't even put people to death. That's what defense attorneys do. They protect the Constitution. That's where you draw the line, not whether somebody's innocent or not. Make the state do it constitutionally or not get to do it at all, because they'll do it to you. One attorney thought to ask a question. That's the only reason this came out. The state was counting on nobody asking. I'm asking a lot of damn questions, and they're not asking. Contribute to the channel if you can. Let's get this message out. Bill Lee left receipts. The Bill Lee narrative. Let me walk you through Bill Lee and the death penalty, because this is a pattern, not an accident, that they know about. 2022, Oscar Smith. Lee says he reviewed the case, will not intervene. 1 hour before the execution, an attorney discovers the drugs were not properly tested. Lee halts it, orders an investigation. So that was in 2022. Halts all investigations, all executions, conducts investigations so that death penalty people don't suffer at all, and victims that have been waiting on this stuff for 30 years are suffering a little more under his incompetence. So he halts investigations. That's wrong. Execute him, investigate it. After the execution, get it ready for the next one. Go do what you're going to do. These people ain't waiting. Why are you? And they're not concerned about people not suffering. I'm sorry you had it set up bad. Go do it. You suffer the results of knowing the person that was executed suffered. That doesn't bother me. Make it so it don't happen again. Get it done. Let's go. For the victims, families. The investigation reveals persuasive non-compliance across every execution since 2018. That's what they discovered. They weren't doing right since 2018. Lee orders a new protocol. 10 years passed. 2 years passed. Got a new protocol. 2025, Brian Black executed under the new protocol. Groans in pain, says it's hurting so bad audibly on the record. So they didn't correct a damn thing. They still got somebody suffering. At least they got it done. That's a good thing. I hate that he had to suffer. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is if they hadn't got it done and the innocent victims knowing that somebody that killed their family member is off the planet and that dirtbag did it. So that's a good day. They needed to correct that. So 2026, Carruthers. Lee says 4 days before the execution. He reviewed it and will not intervene. So he looked into it. He's upside, downside. He's not going to intervene. The execution is botched. So he delays justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. Not because of the facts of the case, because they didn't do it right. As I said, I hate that he had to suffer a little bit. Go get that done, and don't make it as difficult the next time. Don't stop the executions. Get it done. The doctor had not done the procedure in 13 years. Lee grants a reprieve. because they're idiots. If that man had to suffer, that's on Governor Lee. Let him suffer and be gone and get another governor and get the system corrected for future. It's already set in place. An execution, a death warrant was signed and not executed. A colossal failure. Every Tennessean ought to be angry as hell. Don't come here to this crooked state. They'll kill you and lie to you in the court system, say we got justice in Tennessee. No, they don't. They got justice for the murderer and protection from him. He's being protected right now in a jail cell. He killed 3 people, according to Lee. Because he botched it, he's giving him a reprieve because of his mess up. It took him an hour and a half. They poked him. An hour and a half more, they could have got it done. Let's go with it. Get on with it. I mean, you know, this is horrific. Oscar Smith, Brian Black, Tony Carruthers, the same pattern every time. Claim you reviewed it, reverse yourself when it goes wrong, order another investigation, repeat. And it rarely gets done, and they got 30 years to do this stuff. Bill Lee has stepped over the bodies of murder victims 3 times. That is not a mistake. That is who he is. So donate to the channel if you can. Let's get this message out. Don't come to Tennessee right now until we get this stuff straightened out. At least in California, you know you're not going to get the death penalty. In Tennessee, it's a facade. 3 more executions scheduled in 2026. Now this is what's important. After Carruthers, now stayed a year, 3 more are scheduled. And we don't even know if these are going to take place. And there's innocent family victims alive today who are suffering, wanting the death penalty, been waiting on it for 30 years. They'll have to suffer because of Governor Bill Lee. And the governor behind the curtain, the former governor, Bill Haslam, is the real governor, the one that's got the pocketbook. And he's a girly man, he's got a pocketbook. He don't have a billfold. He's got a pocketbook full of poor convenience store workers' blood money. August 13th, Anthony Darrell Duggan Hines, set for execution August 13th. Whether it'll take place or not, we don't know. We do not know because the attorneys are trying to stop the executions. September 30th, Krista Gale Pike. December 3rd, Gail Wayne Sutton. These are people scheduled. Now, Krista Gale Pike is the lady that killed somebody here in Knoxville, Tennessee, from the Knoxville Job Center, where I worked at the University of Tennessee. I wasn't on patrol that night. Pike will be the first woman executed in Tennessee since 1819. She committed the murder at age 18, 1 year above the constitutional line established by the Tennessee Supreme Court in Roper versus Simmons, 2005. 3 more executions, same protocol, same state, same hands that botched Carruthers' execution. The question is not whether these sentences are just, the question is whether Tennessee can be trusted to carry them out. Krista Pike, I was there, January 1995. And I'm going to tell you something, if you missed the earlier podcast, that you won't hear on any other show. I worked at the University of Tennessee when she lured a fellow Job Corps student on the agricultural campus and brutally murdered her, cut a pentagram in her head after they stabbed her. In January 1995, I was off that night. I know the campus, I know the officers, and I know what they found in the woods. A UT police officer drove through the crime scene after the fact in the dark. He drove through the blood thinking it was transmission fluid. So there was a UT police car tracks through the murder scene. He thought it was transmission fluid, it was blood. It didn't affect the outcome. The murder was complete. Pike confessed. The evidence was overwhelming, but the detail has never been reported. I know it's because I was on that force. Evil can happen right in front of us, and we don't always recognize it for what it is until it's too late. The difference is what happens after. Do you acknowledge it? Do you fix it? Or do you cover it up? January 12th, 1995, Krista Pike, 18, Her boyfriend, Terrell Sharp, 17. Their friend, Shonda Patterson, 18. They lured their classmate, Colleen Slimmer, 19 years old, to a remote area off the UT agricultural campus under the pretense of smoking marijuana. What a lot of kids do. What a lot of kids do. What Bill Clinton did, but he didn't in hell. So let's not condemn her for that. Colleen Slimmer. Pike and her co-defendants beat, stabbed, and sliced the victim, culminating in Pike carving a pentagram into Slimmer's chest and forehead, a demonic symbol. When the body was discovered by a groundskeeper, he said it was so disfigured he could not immediately tell it was a human corpse. The Law and Crime reported that. Colleen Slimmer's throat was slashed at least 6 times. She was beaten with a chunk of asphalt. The torture lasted 30 minutes. Wow. That night, Krista Pike walked back to her dorm and told a friend she had just killed Colleen Slimmer and that she had brought back a piece of Colleen's skull as a souvenir. Wow. Horrific murder. Ship got life with parole, just denied parole. So he might eventually in the future, although he took part in the murder, live his life, and the woman that he kept killed at 19, had her whole life ahead of her, is dead. And she probably looked into his eyes while he's killing her. Did she realize this brutal murder that was taking place to her, with her begging for her life and trying to get away? And he's taking everything she had, like Clint Eastwood says, when you kill a man, you take everything he has and everything he's gonna have. And this man that did this brutal, evil, wicked thing is potentially able, at some point in his life, to live a life that he took away from somebody else. So when you are in danger, somebody's trying to kill you, maybe they're actively in the process, remember, if it puts a little fire in you, and they might live their life happily ever after, maybe never get caught, maybe never get executed, and if they are caught, escape execution, and in a few short years be eligible for parole to live their life. Don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. Don't let them have that. Don't let them take your life. Fight like hell. Patterson got probation. One of the people involved in that got probation. Didn't help. We don't know if she actually did the stabbing and cutting. We weren't there. You're going to believe the testimony of liars? Now, the only person with a motive probably was Krista Pike. Pike gets death because of age, technically of 1 year. So while on death row, she tried to strangle a fellow inmate. They added 24 more years to a death sentence. And I've talked to a corrections officer that worked in a jail where she was at. She was privileged, a privileged inmate that was allowed to do custodial work, allowed outside the cell. And according to corrections officers, she ran the prison. So 3 hots in a cot after this brutal murder. The girl's mother, who was killed, Mary Martez, wants her executed because of these mess ups. She might not even be executed. Mary Martinez did not even know about the co-defendant's parole eligibility date until informed by a news reporter, WBIR, October 2025. So the mother of this woman that was killed, Colleen Slimmer, didn't even know that some of the people that did this to their daughter could be killed. Imagine somebody kills one of your family members, brutally like this, the anger and helplessness that you would feel, and expect the state of Tennessee to administer justice. 30 years later, the lady's still on death row, living a pie-in-the-sky life, protected by the government against anybody trying to hurt her when the government wasn't there to protect her daughter. And maybe possibility she won't even be executed because of the incompetence of the state government. How sad that is. The moral of the story is, don't let them do it. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable situation. The victim mother finds out from a TV reporter that the man who helped murder her daughter is up for parole. That's Tennessee justice. Don't depend on the state for justice. They're not going to give it to you. They're incompetent. They can't. Protect yourself and your family. I would advise carry a damn gun. Mary Martinez sent her daughter to jobs court in Knoxville to better her life. She didn't send her to the University of Tennessee, didn't have the money. You know, rich kids go to college, poor kids go to work or job corps. And she got a phone call, maybe a knock on the door, and her daughter was murdered. And I'm sure they didn't tell her the horrificness of the murder, but she's had to find out through court proceedings and through information along the way how brutally and how horrific her daughter left this life. And so sad. And think about the seriousness of our government right now. Well, I say don't come to Tennessee. At least in Florida, you know, Katie barred the door, you're not going to be able to execute them. And being brutally murdered. And I hate to say this, but you need to hear this to protect yourself. And maybe you facing your accusers and realizing that they could walk free and fight like hell for your lives. Don't let them do that. Know that ahead of time. And she has waited 31 years. She's asked for justice. I believe Krista Pike should be executed on September 30th, 2026. And I pray that justice is administered. The courts have adjudicated it. A jury decided it. I was there. I know the facts of the case. Pretty much wasn't in the courtroom. The Bible authorizes it. The mother has asked for it. Are we going to get it in Tennessee? I don't know. My own concern is that Tennessee gets it right. For Colin, Slimmer, for May, the mother. They deserve justice, not a system that protects a murderer, a horrific, brutal murderer, seditious, lured her away from the job corps, took a young girl's life. Give that mother justice and give her the dignity of a state that knows what the hell it's doing. This stuff ought to be personal to these people. It's not. They're running the state government. They're responsible, and they're not. Their conscience is seared. They make claims that they don't back up. So the juvenile death penalty, Roper versus Simmons, before 2005, states could not execute people who committed crimes as young as 16. People have been executed throughout American history for crimes committed at 18 and younger. So the people that were under 18 that assisted in Carleen Simmons' murder can't be executed. But Krista Gail Pike was 18 years old when she committed that murder, and she needs to be executed like justice demands and the law allows and accepts. Let's get it done for the family. And Krista Pike was 18, 1 year above the constitutional line, legally eligible for execution. The jury decided she deserved it. The moral question is not whether it's legal. The question is who decides. And do the people holding the needle in Tennessee right now need to be making that irreversible call? I don't think so. I don't think they need to be left in government power, and we need to keep executing people. And be careful when you elect your next governor. The law draws the line at 18. Integrity draws the line at competence. And clean hands, Tennessee fails the second test. They don't have clean hands in Tennessee. And if you can, donate to the show. Help me get this message out. For the protection of citizens. They didn't stop me from fighting. They just changed the target on them. And it's not a violent fight. It's a political warfare. It is done with legal, legitimate means, not through violence, but nonetheless a fight. Now they're violent. We got to protect ourselves from violence from people in the state government. But I'm not violent at all. I'm pointing out the truth. What does God say? The biblical foundation, Genesis to Romans. Some Christians say grace abolished the death penalty. Before Jesus Christ died on the cross, we were under the law. Thou shalt not kill. Since Jesus Christ died, we're under the dispensation of grace. And if you're a Christian, follow me. If you're not, you should be. Accept the Lord into your heart, ask Him to forgive you. So some Christians say grace abolished the death penalty. Let me show you why that's not what the Bible teaches. Ezekiel 21:12, he who strikes a man so that he dies shall surely be put to death. That's a death penalty. Numbers 35:30, anyone who kills a person is to be put to death only on the testimony of witnesses. Not one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. So no one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. Two witnesses. Due process built into Scripture from the beginning. Multiple witnesses required for the ultimate punishment. But the foundation for the death penalty is not Mosaic law. It predates Moses by centuries. Genesis 9:6, whosoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed, for in the image of God he made man. So we're in the image of God. And it is your obligation to try to stay alive, to fight for your life. You're important and valuable. All human life is. By taking someone else's life with two witnesses, you forfeited that right. So that was given to Noah before the law, before Israel, before Moses, given to all humanity. Never part of Mosaic ceremonial system, fulfilled in Christ. A created order principle tied to the image of God in every human being, never repealed. If you take a life, you're taking something that's in the image of God, you ought to be put to death. With two witnesses. Now what does the New Testament say? Paul writing in the dispensation of grace, what we're under now. Jesus Christ died on the cross, was suffered, took our punishment, and we're under the dispensation, not of the law, but under grace. Caesar, not Moses. Romans 13:4, he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. So, you gotta be in the way. So, Paul was writing to the church in Rome under Nero's empire, not a Christian government, not a just government. And he still declared that God ordained governing authorities to bear the sword as his servant. That was under grace. The dispensation changed. The Mosaic ceremonial law was fulfilled in Christ, but the Noahic covenant was never part of the Mosaic system, was never repealed. Romans 13 reaffirms the death penalty in the age of grace, the age we're living in right now. California, you got it wrong, but at least you're honest about it. Tennessee, you got it wrong, because you say you have the death penalty with the authority of grace, even under that, but you don't do it. Which one's more surreptitiously wrong? The death penalty is biblical, under grace, authorized, not abolished. But, and this is where Tennessee stands before God right now. When Jesus stood before the woman caught in adultery, he did not abolish capital punishment. He exposed the hypocrisy of the government. John 8:7, if any one of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. So the people in government power right now that are running this thing are faulty as hell. Shows up on the national news all over the world in real time just a few weeks ago. The lies under oath, the faulty system. The people who wanted to throw the stones were not clean. Jesus was not saying the law was wrong. He was saying the people enforcing it were not worthy to enforce it. That's what I'm saying. The people that are in the government right now, they're not worthy to be the ones enforcing it. We need to get a better government in the state of Tennessee. Sound familiar? That's Tennessee. Untested drugs, officials lying under oath, a doctor who had not done the procedure in 13 years, a governor reversing himself on live television. These are the people holding the stones in Tennessee right now. Horrific, dangerous people. God authorizes the death penalty. He also demands the government that exercises it be worthy of that sacred and irreversible trust. Tennessee right now is not absolutely worthy of that. Support the channel. Help us get this message out. And if I were in public office, I would demand full transparency. You know, they have laws now where the news media is not allowed to follow the executioners and the condemned to the death chamber. They have a few seconds that they lift up the curtain and they're allowed to watch the final few seconds of the person's life if they're able to do it. They're not allowed to watch the botching. No one's seen what happened when they were trying to kill Mr. Carruthers. They need to make it more open. Let the news media and the public have access of the executioners and the condemned from the before he's gotten out of the cell all the way to the death chamber, all the way through to the cemetery where he deserves. No secret laws hiding drugs and the doctors from the families of victims who deserve to know their government is doing this right. I would demand complete medical personnel, not a doctor who has placed a central line in 13 years. I would demand that the families of victims be notified if they want every single proceeding involving the people who murdered their loved ones. Mae Montez should never find out from a TV reporter that the man who helped murder her daughter is up for parole. And I would never stand before camera claiming I reversed the case and then reverse myself when the incompetence becomes public. That's not leadership, that's cover. I would continue with the execution until we got it done as painlessly, effectively as possible and get it done and correct it less painful the next damn time. 31 years ago, I was on the UT force when Colleen Slimmer was murdered on that campus. I was off that night, but tonight I'm on the ballot for governor of Tennessee. And Krista Pike is scheduled to die in September. I pray that justice is administered. God has a way of bringing things full circle. The families of Dulles Anderson, Marcellus Anderson, Frederick Tucker, murdered by Tony Carruthers in 1994, they have waited 32 years. They deserve better than what Tennessee gave them May 21st, 2026. Mary Martinez, the mother of Colleen Slimmer, has waited 31 years for justice. I seen her on television the other day saying that she wants the death penalty and it's time to take care of that and get the person convicted executed. She deserves that. Sent her daughter off to the Job Corps Center, finds out that she was murdered, and later picks up the details of the horrific murder, and the murderer is still on death row, running the prison. A custodian, a privileged inmate, tried to kill somebody in prison, and people that helped in the murder might have been the main people that did it, are up for parole and some of them free. We need to stop that cover up and continue fighting these people, point out how dirty the government is. So maybe Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday next week in the morning, 6 o'clock, 6:45, maybe a little bit later, we're going to talk about how you might end up on death row, most likely, wrongfully. And if it's you, they'll probably figure out a way to get it done. So like the channel, subscribe, contribute if you can. Thank y'all so very much. We're coming up close to 4 million people that have viewed this channel. We're fighting them in federal court. I filed papers yesterday. We'll probably talk about that next week, what the state's doing. What they do with your tax money is not protect you. They have a crooked agenda. Well, that's real good. They have a crooked agenda. Man, just threw something in the street. Crooked agenda, use your money to protect them, to violate your rights and protect evil, crooked criminals. So we're fighting them in federal court, on the ballot, and with this channel, and a few other ways. We won't talk about all of it. Perfectly legitimate and legal. And they got another thing coming. The moral of this show is don't expect the state to protect you. The state will protect the person who murdered you or your family member. Protect yourself. Be aware that it is a very dangerous world, that you could be killed. Take precautions ahead of time. If you like and feel competent, carry a gun to protect yourself. Although I'll say this last thing about a gun, it can be taken away from you and used against you. So if you don't think you can use it or aren't competent to hold on to it, then you shouldn't carry one. And always treat a firearm as if it's loaded. Always protect yourself. Don't depend on the government. They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen, probably. Use the government as a resource. Of course, call 911, use the courts. But don't depend on that. They'll fail you. They did just the other day. And the person who murdered you, remember this, might be free, living their life, never caught, or if caught, never executed. If caught, given parole, or gotten out on a plea deal, while you've lost your life and your family members have to live through that. Don't let them have the luxury of getting it done. Think ahead of time. Realize it's a dangerous world. And don't live paranoid. Live informed and educated in peace with full knowledge that you're a little bit smarter than the person who tried to do you in. Make it hard for them to get that done for yourself and your family. May God bless you all. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, contribute, hit the share and like button. Help us get this message out. We're going to transform the state of Tennessee. It's on. We are fighting these people in public power legitimately through appropriate means, contesting their illegitimate, inappropriate means, calling them out for the dirty scumbags they are. They protect murders in Tennessee. Your correctional institutions are havens to protect murderers from you when they couldn't do it when they killed your family members. That's the state of Tennessee. May God bless you all. As I always try to say, God loves you and I do too. Until next time.